All right. So welcome to Command. For anyone that hasn't been on Command yet, this is Command main dashboard. I have the left side panel open right now so you can see what all the icons are. And for the purpose of talking about compliance and commissions tab being a replacement for Green Sheet, we're going to be spending time over on opportunities. So I'll go navigate over to opportunities. I'll give a heads up too, in case I have any sort of audio issues. Troy, you might have to take over. I had a meeting earlier. Actually, I was doing an interview with somebody via Zoom, and my microphone started freaking out, or actually started freaking out and kicking me off with audio. So if that happens, I'll signal and I'll move over to iPad. All right, so in opportunities, this is your main sales pipeline dashboard. Showing everything I got going on with listing, buyers, leases, projections of different income. If you guys haven't been this is basically your digital whiteboard. I think, Stephanie, you had actually asked about what people are doing for whiteboards in their home offices in lieu of not having them in the office on there. This is a great replacement for that. You can pull it up from any sort of device and be able to see what you have going in the works, all the way from lead generation to appointment setting to active clients you're working with, the stuff you have currently pending, and then also keep track of your most recent closings and make sure you're on track for goals. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go into the listing as an example. So if I was going to, I'm going to go ahead and create a new opportunity here up in the top right corner. So when I'm creating a new opportunity, it's going to give me the drop downs already filled out. Since I'm a member of only one market center, it's got that option. For some people that might have licenses in multiple states and be members of multiple KW market centers, you would see additional market centers showing up here. So what's really nice is you can actually keep track of your businesses in different markets all in one place and not necessarily have to log out of it and log into the other one and keep jumping back and forth between those two. So that's a really nice feature. Then obviously too, if you are a member of multiple teams or have multiple teams, expansion teams, and you want to be able to separate those, you're able to do that here. I'm a member of one, so that's in there. I can switch as I'm creating the opportunity, whether it be a listing, a buyer, representing a landlord, or representing a tenant client. I can switch between those. This will be a listing. The rainmakers for a team are going to be the ones that show up as the owners of the records. So for this, I'm going to be the owner.
Hey, Ryan, let me add something to that, though, because I think there's been very few situations within KW, I feel like, where these identifiers within a team have been important in the past. However, now, because of the way Command is set up around permissioning, it's going to get more and more important. So, you know, the owner and the quote unquote rainmaker, which is what technically they're called within the back end system, those can all be controlled through the MCA. So if there are people on the team that, even if they're not a full owner, but maybe at this point they're like management level, that you would want to have access to the entire team's database and opportunities, they would need to be, at this point, become a rainmaker. So you would need to talk to Lisa or Nancy about getting them assigned that way. Dawn, that's a fantastic question. And actually, Ryan, that's something we should address before we go any further about DocuSign. So basically, the way that we decided to roll this out was in two stages. As you guys know, we tried to roll out DocuSign late last year, and it just wasn't ready. And so instead of praying that it was ready, we decided to go at it a little bit differently. And so we decided to roll it out in two stages. So the first stage is simply going to be when you turn in your compliance. For those of you that have been in the business for a while, you remember we used to hand in paper documents to the office. So you would, you know, maybe even actually, I think we still did that. I don't know about at consultants, but I know at Capital Partners, we did that even after we got .loop, where we would have to still print them off and turn them into the office. And then we switched to submitting through .loop. This is just going to be the only thing that we're moving to on April 13th is when you turn a file into the office, you're going to be doing it through command instead of hitting submit to office in .loop. But we're going to show you ways that you can bring documents over from .loop directly into command. So it's really not going to be much in terms of additional steps. But the purpose of that was to allow it to not be such an enormous change all at one time. And then also, we know that compliance is working really, really well. Yes, it's being recorded, Cindy. We know that compliance is working really, really well. And the commissions tab is going to eliminate green sheets, which I think from using it is a lot easier on you guys as well, because you can go in and change things versus having to reach out to Lisa to do things for you. And so I think overall, from a reporting perspective, it's just going to make things easier. Currently, Ryan is working directly with DocuSign to work through a couple specific things that we would like to see done before we make the transition from .loop in terms of electronic signatures to DocuSign. Our goal is to do that like towards now. Because of this, we kind of created a unique opportunity that maybe wouldn't have existed had this not happen, and do that. We're trying to move that along as quickly as possible to try to give you guys this opportunity when things are a little bit slower in the spring to get transition, so that you're completely ready to go when the market changes, and we're not trying to push this on you in July when normally July is slower, but now it's probably going to be busier, I would guess. So that's kind of like our mindset behind doing this in phases instead of transitioning completely. Now, that being said, DocuSign is pretty close to being ready to go. So if someone wanted to go in and explore and be a test case for DocuSign, there's nothing that's stopping you all from doing that now. And we would actually, here in the next week or two, hopefully we'll be looking for some volunteers to start using it the same way that we did with compliance. We basically tested it with a small number of agents and teams to make sure that it was functioning both from our end and from the MCA's end. So again, we didn't run into the situation we did before with DocuSign, where we put out this date and then we had to pull it back.
Yeah. Speaking about dates on there too. So with the whole social guideline or social distancing guidelines being in effect through April, like all this stuff, I think there's going to be a very big pent up demand of buyers, big pent up demand of people looking to sell their homes. I expect that when we're done with all this distancing type stuff, we're going to be flooded. There's going to be a lot to be done that's going to make up for the lost time that we have right now. So definitely take this time, take this opportunity and dive into Command and learning this technology, because when you get slammed, don't wait until you have active business necessarily right now to get oriented and learning it, because we will likely get slammed as soon as the guidelines are lifted. So that's
one of the things that we'd like for you to do, and Ryan, we should have said this at the beginning, but for those of you guys that already do know what to do in Command, I think the best way to learn this, and we have a unique opportunity because we're Zooming, is to actually for you guys to pull up your Command right now and try as best as you can to follow along with just creating a fake opportunity. So if you want to name it test opportunity or whatever, but I really think that allows you guys to ask questions based on actually doing it, instead of watching this, praying that you remember everything, and then you go back and watch the video later and wish that Ryan and I were sitting here so you could ask us the questions.
Yeah. And while we give them a moment to pull that stuff up here too, you reminded me, because you used the word try. Are we still able to sign up for Bold Pivot?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
But that wasn't the intention. Man, I need it.
Gotcha. All right, so getting back on track here, as you guys are pulling this up. So I've gone into opportunities. I've created an opportunity. I've connected the market center, my team, opportunity type, and owner. Now I'm down to the client part, and all you have to do is start searching for their name, just start typing it in there, and you see I've pulled up John Doe, and I've got 3 of those in my database.
So Ryan, is there a way when you're creating an opportunity to add a new contact at that time, or do they have to add a contact before they go to create the opportunity?
So it looks like they would have to have already had it in there. So you can create a contact and then be able to create an opportunity from the contact. But if you're going to create an opportunity first, you do have to have the person already inputted.
Have an existing contact. Okay.
And I thought I had one of these before where Jane was connected to him as well, but it looks like Jane Doe is not part of the pre-connection.
Well, you have 3 John Does in there, so
There, yeah. There's 2 John Does, and they are buying, or they're selling this property together. John Senior and John Junior. So I can rename the opportunity. By default, it's going to have their name, and it's going to be dash whatever the activity is. So if they're buying or they're selling or they're leasing or doing anything like that, know that this isn't just a right now short-term like tool. This is going to be an ongoing thing that hopefully we still continue to have 7 to 10 years from now when they come back around and do another potential transaction at that time. So I would really encourage to actually update these opportunity names. So if this is for the purpose of selling for them, I'm going to go ahead with their property address and put it in there so that when I go back later and I look at John Doe or John Doe's contact record, I'm going to see in their timeline that they've had multiple opportunities. I'm going to see their 123 Main Street one. I'm going to see their 456 Broad Street one that they purchased later too. And I'm going to be able to go back and reference those different opportunities.
And the one thing that they did update, if you guys have ever played in here but haven't lately, is I think originally once you created the opportunity name, it was stuck for life. It is editable now. Nice. After you create it. So if you do type in the wrong thing in the opportunity name, or you have a couple of opportunities that you'd love to rename based on Ryan's recommendation, you can go back and edit it.
And I noticed in the chat, Holly asked if she should log in as Todd or as herself. I did notice earlier that Priscilla Monroe is the community outreach, I don't know her entire title, but for KWRI with regards to the technology, they just mentioned that we can remove, we've had the ability to add admin controls. We now have the ability to actually remove the excess admin. So I end up having 3 versions of Alex that are in my command, and now I'm able to limit it down to the correct one on that. And they're still working on some of the team permissioning to give the admins that same kind of level of access where they could see all the agents stuff. So I think we need to look into that. And let's try, something more about it.
Right now. Holly, I would say for purposes of this example, I would just log in as yourself. It would really depend on how your team was set up. Most of the time, when this is fully functional, your agents actually should be the ones creating these opportunities at the time that they write the initial offer. And so you actually, and we'll get to that here in a second as to why that's important. But in the short term, if they've already created the offer in .loop and it's already in contract and you're going in to create it, I think the safest bet would be for you to create it under Todd's account. However, it's kind of a complicated answer depending on how your business is run. The best practice would be to go and create it under the account of the agent who wrote the offer, because then they're going to be able to track in their pipeline how much business they have going on. But if the only purpose of doing this exercise is just to put it in compliance, then it honestly doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you are going to continue to use this for more of your business and you have multiple agents on their team, like definitely they want to input their own opportunities within there, because then you can filter down to just that agent and it's able to keep track of their reports for the number of buyers and sellers that they're working with. And also there's going to be some cool tracking features as well that are in there. One question. Oh yeah, Eric gave the little history lesson on the history of John Doe there. If you guys want your fun fact for the day, check out the group chat. All right, so one thing I want to mention on here too is anything that has a red asterisk, those ones are the required fields. Anything that does not have that is not going to be required that you have to do. So like custom tags is not required, although custom tags can be beneficial for the opportunities. So some of the ones that my team has already put in for the opportunities are something like the person, if it's a buyer, that they are pre-approved, or they might have some sort of credit challenge that's on there. Internal splits that are supposed to be there within the team. If there's an outside referral that's involved in it, we just tag those just so when we see the broad overview of our pipeline, we're able to see which ones might need a little extra attention or something to remember for the future when we're doing our commission splits.
And we're not going to go super deep into opportunities today just because we want to make sure that you guys know compliance. However, the tech class tomorrow afternoon at 3:00 that Ryan's going to be teaching is all on opportunities and how you can utilize those opportunities to track your pipeline for both your team and individual. And so today we're going to focus on the compliance part, but tomorrow he's going to go deep into the benefits of adding opportunities long before you ever write a contract so that you know what your business pipeline looks like, for months out.
Yeah, thanks for that update and that plug for tomorrow's class. So as you said, I'll go ahead and jump through this a little bit quicker then. We'll call this a cultivate, watch, and assign to me.
So at this point, does anybody have any questions on how we went through and filled that out or why certain things were in the areas that they were in? And you guys can unmute yourself or you can also type in the chat. Because I think that if you're thinking it, there's probably, with 35 people in here, there's probably 10 other people that are thinking it too. So please don't be shy. I know most of you very, very well, and I know you're not shy. So don't be shy here.
Otherwise, we'll start calling people out.
Ryan,
Hey, Ryan.
3% commission rate instead of 6%.
I didn't get that.
So for this purpose, it is going to be your side of it. I mean, it can be here on the seller worksheet. So like once I created that, it takes me to the details and I get an overview of everything I put in there. So when I put that percentage, it shows up over on this left side that shows estimated list price, commission rate, and then my anticipated commission. I mean, I guess you could put your 6% or the total gross commission, knowing that our commissions are paid out to a co-op broker, and then make the updates later at that time for it. So, I mean, I guess the assumption is you are getting the full 6% until, proven otherwise by another a buyer's agent being there. But for the purpose of doing like the seller breakdown, the net proceeds on it, you can edit it over here and being able to say, okay, buyer's agent commission and update it.
Yeah, the biggest reason for that it's 3% instead of 6% is because when you go back to the opportunity panel, which we can go to at the end and show you, but the opportunities panel is broken down into a buyer section and a seller section. And so if you had both sides, the best way to have your data be as good as it could be would actually be to create 2 opportunities for the same deal, with the buyer opportunity being one and then the listing opportunity being another, both of them at 3%. And to answer your question about the agent splits, I don't believe that there's a way to show the agent split on the team from this view at this point. Ryan, do you know? That's going to show up in commissions.
Yeah, it's going to show up over in commissions. It doesn't show up in this overview at this point. So
yeah. Now, if you were a buyer's agent, because again, all of those numbers that he put in right there for now are simply for you to be tracking your pipeline. So if the buyer's agent wanted to put their percentage of that 3%, so if they were on a 50-50 split and they wanted to say, I only have 1.5%, they could do that. So they would be able to see how much money they would make. I believe it's on the roadmap for it to be more transparent from the overhead view. However, right now that has to be done in the commissions tab after you enter all this.
Yeah. All right, so we can stay focus on the compliance and the commissions part of it here too. Mention again the fact that we do have the class tomorrow at 3:00, where I'm going to go much more in depth into one of these tabs, the creation process, best practices with tags, all that stuff. We'll be go over tomorrow at 3:00. Plus, there is going to be it's going to be recorded as well.
And then one more shameless plug on the topic of all these additional classes is that either today or tomorrow, I'm going to be sending out a survey to the whole office. And the biggest focus of it is going to be what kind of classes do you guys want to see as we're all stuck in the house and have time to do Zoom. So we want to make sure that we're bringing you guys the classes and the information that you're looking for. So please be paying attention to that and either put it in the chat or shoot me an email afterwards if you think of a class idea. The past recordings, we actually started a YouTube channel a while ago and we just haven't been utilizing it. So today and tomorrow, Angela's working on putting all of the recent Zoom recordings up. And so this one I'll post in the Facebook group and also on that YouTube channel that we're going to be getting out to you guys.
All right, so moving over here, I got not a lot, I don't think, in the seller profile at the moment. Yeah, no, it's really just keeping track of app stuff. So I'm gonna move over to the third tab, which is documents. So in documents, there's gonna be, for at least a listing on here, there's gonna be 3 different folders, one for getting it listed, one for when it goes into contract, and then one when it finally ends up closing. So we've already got in here the document requirements for compliance. So as something's getting listed, we're going to have the ABA form in there, the seller consent, MLS printout, listing agreement, residential worksheet, all those documents. There are some that are, I think actually all of these are required with the exception of some are marked optional, like the seller consent form is an optional form, but MLS printout, listing agreement, stuff like that all shows as required on there.
Hey, Ryan, where it says conditionally required, that means, and it has an explanation next to it.
Yes,
so like
agency, if required, if you do work on a team.
And so same thing like at the top of the affiliated business form, it tells you when it's required if it's not a required document.
Yep. Yeah, I see too. It also says what type it is. If it's an authorization, a disclosure, an agreement, the contract, all that's in there. I don't know if we can actually filter. We can sort by that.
And the other thing is, guys, on these, if there's something that really just isn't making sense to you and you feel like there's more of an explanation we can give on some of these, definitely don't be afraid to either shoot Lisa or Joan a message on that, because they both have access to update these. And so if there's a way that we can make these more clear, or if you see a document that we missed or that wasn't updated with the newest form, like definitely don't hesitate. I mean, we've tried to make this as good as it can be, and we are also human. So definitely don't hesitate to ask, because one thing I will say about this compared to a lot of things is KW worked really hard to make it very editable, to make it work the way that we wanted it to work, which is the complexity of it has been one of the reasons for the delays, but they've gotten a lot of those kinks worked out, and we have a lot of flexibility on the back end of the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, opportunities is my favorite tool within Command because of what it can do for your business, of just keeping organized with different documents. And then everything I'm going to go into tomorrow is going to be really how you can kind of focus on your pipeline and avoid kind of the roller coaster of your business between lead generation and active business on there, how you can really use that tool to kind of spot your gaps or your holes in it to prevent that from happening. So listed, under contract, and closed being the final settlement statement. So this is the part I'm going to get into about actually attaching this to DocuSign, or even attaching it to Dotloop as well. And this is an important step here. right now it doesn't allow you to take existing loop and attach it into this. You have to actually initiate and start the loop or start the DocuSign room from this space to have it be able to properly attach. So up in this corner right here, I have start a transaction, and there is a drop down for it of choosing either to start it in DocuSign or start in .loop. So you can continue using .loop right now for this to be able to connect that. So I'll show what that looks like.
Hey, Ryan, I'll just add while that's pulling up here that even if you have already done the whole transaction, there's an easy 2-step process to be able to make it so you can seamlessly pull them over, which we'll go through in a second. But for those of you that just had a huge eye roll over that statement, there is a workaround that really isn't very difficult.
Yeah. And we have all those eye rolls on recording as well. So so in here, I can go ahead and start same menu that I get when I'm starting a .loop template from a buyer, seller, short sale, condo, land, all that. But I don't necessarily have to pick one of those, and it's going to start up.
You do actually have to pick one, I think, don't you?
No, I didn't make.
Oh, you don't? Okay, good.
Yeah. So now that I've synced it, it's created a new one over there that should be for this 123 Main Street for the does. I can go directly to it. I can update the sync right here with it. But if I click on this to go to it, it's going to open up another tab and take me directly into .loop and directly into the 123 Main Street loop for a listing, pre-listing folder right here to be able to add everything. See at the bottom that, well, both myself I've been added to it, as well as both of my John Does. And apparently I have JD is the man at hotmail.com. That might actually have been a lead that came in for that John Doe. So he's getting notification. He's gotten added to a loop. That's what you get when you use that name and post on everything his inbound leads.
Ryan, I have a question. Do you have to have an existing loop in .loop? Because I'm following along in command, but I don't see where I can pick between DocuSign and .loop.
So when you're back at this, it's not that you have to have an existing one. It's that you do have to have.
I hit go to transaction and it sent me straight to DocuSign.
Yeah, that probably means that you haven't set up your .loop account in the command settings. So I'm going to make a note of that, and I can show you how to do that so that when you click on go to transaction, it's just in your settings. It's very easy. You just have to put in your username and password, and then that option will come up.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get to that later then. Okay.
Yeah, at the tail end, we'll go and show how to set that up.
Okay, thank you.
Troy will remind me. So now that I'm back in the .loop loop right now, I can go ahead and add in my documents. So I said this one was a listing. So I go ahead and select and add all these documents in there. All right. Everybody for the most part has used .loop, so I don't need to go through and fill these out or have them signed or anything like that. Just know that they're all in there. So when I go back over to command, make sure to go ahead and resync that, updating it. So this transaction information will be sent over to your connected document manager. Do you want to proceed? Yes, we'll go ahead and update that. So now that that's been done, if I go here to add a file, and I'm going in for, I think that was a listing agreement, gives me the options of where the source of my documents is going to come from. Is it going to be a manual upload? I can drag PDFs right into here. I can browse my local device and be able to search for those. And I can also click on .loop. When I click on .loop, it's going to pull in all those documents that I just added into that loop, and I'm able to access them. So what I said, this was listing agreement, exclusive right to sell contract. I will go ahead and assign that. Uh-oh. Ah, there it works. Got to muscle through some of those red error notifications to get through.
And I just realized we picked Tuesday for our first class, which is when KWRI does all their updates. So that was my fault.
Yeah, they do Tech Tuesday. I'm more focused on Taco Tuesday. So I can go through with each one of these documents and being able to add those in. But you'll see it pulled in that exclusive right to sell contract. I can click on that. And that's going to show me a preview of everything I just pulled in from there. Yep. Already pre-filled out with some of my information that's on there. If we had filled that out, everything would end up updating on here too with all the information about 123 Main Street. I can print it, I can download it locally, zoom in, view it all in this spot. And I could go through and add that for every single one of these
So,
documents,
Ryan-
add those.
Ryan, let's stop there and just
Perfect.
find out, does anybody have any questions up to this point? Or does anybody not know how we got there, how we accessed the documents, and then how they got where they are?
Is there a way to not have to see all of those documents if you don't want it in the quote unquote loop? Like if I want to get rid of the MLS printout, or is that, am I going to just see that all day, every time I'm in transaction? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. You know what we could do, I'm just thinking out loud here, and that's a great question, is originally when we set this up, we were only allowed to have these 3 folders, but now we're unlimited folders, I believe, on compliance. What we might be able to do is to create one that has just the required. I don't know. Ryan, is there a way we can sort them by required versus conditionally? Under
No. I mean, I can't even,
status?
I can't even sort them by that. I can only sort by the document name, since that's kind of more of a description type thing that goes under it. So we can't do that. I'm always thinking like the MLS printout might be one that we could potentially eliminate, just because you do end up syncing it with KWLS up in the opportunity. So really that would give us the information.
I wonder though if we could create a listing required folder and then a listing optional folder with
Yeah,
all
we
the
can do
rest
that.
of them in there.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll talk with Lisa and Joan about that and figure out, Eric, what we might be able to do to make this a little cleaner.
Yep.
Great suggestion and question.
Yep.
Would
Additionally, I can go ahead and sort through this as well, where I could just show me the stuff I've already uploaded up here. Show me all the stuff I still need to upload and sort that. Before moving on with how to submit it, any other questions?
could you make your own like group of required documents by clicking that listed drop down? It's right beside 1 of 10 documents.
Oh, yeah, right there where it says listed.
Go up.
There's an arrow.
Then it says add version.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Oh,
Could you make another group of documents there?
looks like it.
I don't know. We'll play with that and let you guys know. That's a possibility though. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I wonder if that's more for like, because it would give me the same grouping of documents, but now it cleared it out. So
Yeah,
maybe,
but I think we might have the ability on the back end to give, like Robert saying, that we could have conditionally or conditional, required, and optional under that listed that we create on the back end.
yeah, when I see that, I almost think it could be used for anyone to be able to load everything in there for that you might be able to sort through that. So we might want to check to see what their use case or what their goal was of putting that in there too.
Yep, because you might be right on that as well with the listing. So
yeah, and I know you can create custom folders here too. Okay, so once I've got everything loaded in here, all I would end up doing, and I'll have to I'm sure Lisa will know when she gets a 123 Main Street coming through that it's probably not legit, but I can go ahead and click on submit to MC. Are you sure you want to submit these for review? Avoid delay and approval by ensuring all attached documents are accurate, and contact your market center if you have any questions. Go ahead and hit submit. status has gone from being open to now being submitted. And it tells me actually with the timestamp of when I submitted it in there as well. I'm trying.
Ryan,
I'll have to
let's go ahead and show them though where it says add comment. And I think this is something that's really good with this is that you can, when you submit something, like for example, I got a text from somebody last night saying like they couldn't get a hold of the seller. It was a builder to get permission, or I'm sorry, to get an agency disclosure signed by a builder. So you could, thanks. So you could put right in here when you submit your file without the agency disclosure, hey, Lisa, I'm still waiting on the signature from the builder on the agency disclosure. So that, and then she can actually respond back to you in this box so that all the communications exist in that opportunity instead of having to have an email over here about it and a text message over here about it. Everything can live right there in that file.
There you go.
I have a question.
Yep.
I forget what the status
Well,
actually
Ryan,
changes to once
Dawn
it's
has
gotten
a
back from
question.
it. Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I get, and maybe this is, I'm behind, but so whenever we create our documents and we send them for review, like a listing, and we submit them to compliance, right? Where's that step? Do you know what I mean? So once we create our documents, because that goes with this, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like whenever we put a buyer into contract even, and how we submit it for, is that still through .loop or DocuSign?
No,
There.
that's what he just did. So when you
Okay.
upload those
Making sure.
documents in
Okay.
here and submit, so yeah, you'll no longer, because what will
Perfect.
happen is once, even if you choose, so that's another thing to point out. So even after we transition to DocuSign for our electronic signature program, you guys, Command is still going to be able to link to .loop. So if you were like, hey, you know what? I've been using .loop for 5 years. I have no desire to learn a new system. I'll pay $25 a month to not have to worry about learning DocuSign. You can still use .loop forever. But once the Market Center gets rid of .loop, we as the Market Center will no longer have access to your loops. Your account will go from being part of the Market Center account to being a standalone account. So the only way that you're going to be able to submit documents so that we can see them is going to be through Command. And so, however, just to clarify further on that, we are going to, starting April 13th, require you to submit through Command so that Lisa doesn't have to go back and forth. And I also think you guys will very much appreciate the commissions tab compared to doing green sheets.
Thanks, sorry. I just felt like it was kind of backwards. We were submitting our commission, getting paid, and then, sorry.
No, that's okay. So that was just for a listing. So this is what you would do for the listing. And then once your listing goes under contract, then Ryan, if you want to click on the under contract tab.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have the opportunity to submit at different stages here. So when you take on that new listing, I've already submitted that. And so I have nothing in the under contract right now, but once we do receive a contract on it, I'm able and accept that. I'm able to add it in here, add my comments, submit it just the same as I did before. And it does all have to be like, so it didn't change and give me another opportunity to link a different transaction in there. So sometimes we end up with multiple loops as a result of this, with working with, offers being submitted in. So you do want to make sure that you merge it down into that single loop so that the documents do get synced here as well with that.
So Ryan, let's go ahead and jump back into .loop and show them if there was an existing loop that had documents in it, how they would move those into the loop, just like the use case that you just mentioned. So let's say a buyer's agent submits a contract to you from a completely different loop. So go into .loop and create a brand new loop that's like 123 Main Street buyer loop. And you're the listing agent on this. So you got this buyer loop from the buyer's agent. You guys negotiated the contract. And now you need to submit your documents to the office. So this would be the loop that the buyer's agent sent to you.
On deck. Hey, Troy, keep talking. I have to deal with a 3-year-old situation.
He's got a helper. So basically this is like the worst time of any time this whole time for him to walk away from the computer. But he's going to be adding this loop.
I'm back. I saved you. Hey, I did just learn here too. I can actually give you remote control of my screen too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Zoom. That's awesome.
So again, consider this like one of those situations where the buyer's agent submitted the offer to you. You guys negotiated all from this loop, which wasn't the loop you originally attached to your opportunity that we created before. And now it's time, you're in contract. Now it's time to submit this to the office. So what you're going to do is select the documents that you want from this loop.
Okay.
So the agency, the contract, additional terms, let's just say those are all of them. And then you're going to click the make a copy button up next to archive. Mm-hmm. And then here, now this you could go either direction. Now the benefit of copying as a .loop document is it's going to give you still the ability to edit them once you move it to the other loop. If you copy as a flat PDF, just think of it, I mean, it says right in there, it's not editable. So think of it as like something that's attached to an email. So once you like download a .loop document and attach it to an email, you can't do anything with it. So let's copy it as a .loop document, which would be my recommendation. And you're going to click to loop. And then you're going to find the 123 Main Street, which was your listing loop right there. And then you only had one folder in there. So if you would have had multiple folders created in that .loop document, all of those folders would show up. In this case, you only had one. So go ahead and copy.
Yeah, so you're saying best case or use case is to actually create that second folder for that buyer one coming in, but we didn't do that step. But we'll go ahead and put it in that folder.
But you can even do that later if you want.
Yeah, doing a drag and drop.
And then once you click OK, then up at the top, it's going to say 3 documents were copied to this loop. Do you want to view the loop now? You click on view loop, and now it took you to the listing loop. And now here right at the top, it's showing you those 3 buyer documents that moved from that other buyer loop.
This one, and this one.
And so now those are in there.
Oh, I can only drag one at a time, can I?
Yeah, you could move them if you wanted to, but don't worry about it. We'll just, so now if you go back into command, so now you move those into your listing loop and you sync transaction. And it's going to ask you to update.
Yep.
And so now at the top, it said your loops information. So now when you go into the under contract file, which we're in, and click .loop.
Add file .loop purchase contract.
So yeah, so now those 3 documents up there at the top are those ones that you had moved over from that other loop. And now your purchase contract is in there. So now the other benefit of this, even though it is an extra step, the other benefit is that forever attached to your contact in your CRM is every single file that you ever had with that client. And so when you talk about, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you, like, when I was still running my team, like one of the things that we did is we had .loop, and then part of the closing checklist was we had a Dropbox account. And after every single closing, we would move every document over to the Dropbox account, and we would pull documents from emails and all of that. Now you're going to have in your contact card every single offer that you've ever written for the client, every single property that they bought. If you have an investor that you work with that owns 7 different properties, now right under that contact card, you have every single offer that you've ever written, every house that they've closed on, with all of those documents all in one place along with the communication.
Can I back up and ask a question?
Yep.
So when you're connecting an opportunity to .loop, it creates a new loop. Even if you already have a loop out there, then you have to move, even if it's a loop you
No,
created,
go.
you have to make a copy of all your stuff to the new loop that essentially Command creates for you.
At this point, yes, and I don't know if they intend on making it. I think one of the biggest challenges with that is the naming of it and attaching the name to the opportunity. And so, yes, at this point, you do have to do that. So, and the part of the reason why they did that is because I think they want to encourage you to create the loop or create the opportunity long before you ever write a contract. And so if you're using the system to its fullest capability, you're actually creating the opportunity when they become a client and not after they write and have an accepted offer.
Okay, so that's something that'll just take care of itself moving forward. But if you're trying to pull in old stuff.
It is an extra step right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool, thank you. Oh, one more question.
Mhm.
Back when we were creating the opportunity where it's asking you for the commission, you can only put a percentage and it can only be 2 digits. So what if you have like a flat rate commission that's like 0.005?
If you, can you go back into the details? I believe even though it looks like you can't, if you just start typing a number, go into edit.
Well, one thing I'll mention on here too, real quick, you see this number actually updated and it's not 3% of that any longer. And the reason why is because once I connected it to a listing that was in KWLS, it updated to the asking price that was on that. So that one was at 269.9. So that is 3%.
So
Right.
like, for example, I'm selling my own home right now and I'm charging myself $100 to do it. It won't let me put that.
Go
in.
back into edit, Ryan.
Yeah. No, so actually I can't edit it here. It's purely about the commission percentage. However, this number that shows up here has nothing to do with the commissions. This is really just for an opportunities of tracking your pipeline of probable income. So like just solely for like the one you're doing for a personal transaction with $100, I would just put that as a 0% on that one. So it doesn't mess up with your business income part of it. But then once we actually get over into commissions, that's where you can actually change it to, instead of percentage, to being a flat dollar amount.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on documents or stuff, Troy, you want to mention about this before we move over how to make the commissions tab highlight?
Nope.
Everybody else good?
Question,
All right,
if
so once
you,
I've submitted all this stuff, there it is. Good.
just if we get an offer, because not everybody uses .loop, like if I get an offer from a Bell Fountain agent, can you just upload documents like you would a PDF?
Yeah.
Or do I have
Yeah.
to put it in .loop, or I don't have to do that?
I mean, you could put it into .loop. Still, if you want to operate with it in there, you could also, as we're adding files, you can manually drag those PDFs and put them into their respective spots.
Or just browse. If you click the browse button, it's going to open up your file structure like you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's move over into the commissions part. First, we got to go over to offers. So this is the offer timeline. We'll go in a little bit more depth tomorrow's class about that, about the cases of using this for if you're handling multiple offers or if you have a buyer ends up putting out multiple offers as they missed out on some homes. So you can keep track of that information here. What I'll do is go ahead and add a new offer. We'll just go with the default initial offer here. What this ultimately is going to turn into as part of the consumer app experience, remember they had the like promo videos, the hype videos showing somebody's doing yoga and receiving an offer on their house and able to accept an offer for the sale of their house. This is where those like details are going to be filled out that get sent to them. So offer date is today. The offering to close April 30th. Moves over to the parties. My seller's information. There's John Doe's phone number. Is showing up in there populated. My information is showing up populated here. There's only two requirements in the co-op side of things: is the name of the buyer and the name of the co-op agent as well. So I'll say it's John Smith is the buyer's name. Jane Smith is his agent. Don't need to fill out this other information, but you could end up putting pre-approved, pre-qualified as well in that. Move over to the terms and say what the terms are of the offer. You can't just type in total sales price. It does have to say cash and finance amount. So we'll say this person is putting $50,000 down, financing $200,000 for a total price of $250,000.
And if you don't know that information, just put 0 in cash, and I mean it that has no effect on anything.
Yeah.
The effect that has on it is there's an offer comparison spreadsheet where if you have multiple offers, you can send that to your client and it shows that information. But for purposes of just compliance, you can just put the purchase price in one or the other of those and keep moving.
Totally. I'll go in more depth tomorrow about that, about why some of that stuff's important, just creating as a practice of trying to find out that information, especially in multiple offer situations, but we'll get into that more tomorrow. Earnest money, percentage or amount, says $1,000. Remembering the fact that this is a national and actually international platform, so there's a lot of different nuances through different markets. So there's going to be some things that show up in here that may not be relevant to our local market. So we may not have option fees, this termination option that's on there. And then there's like two variations of seller costs where seller contribute to a residential service contract or contribute towards a settlement cost. I would say in our local market, more apt to see that one with towards the settlement cost. So let's say that there was $3,000 credits. I'll put that in there. Then I'll go over to the agent analysis where I can give them the pros about this offer, the cons about it, and then just a generalized summary.
But none of that's required.
Yes. We'll go in more depth tomorrow on that stuff. So I'll go ahead and save. And that's going to give me the overview of everything I just put in there. We're going to have the option to accept it or reject it, and I'll go over the rejections and things like that tomorrow as well. But for this, to make the commissions tab over here where I can't click on it now, is you will be able to view your commissions when you have an accepted offer. So I got to go ahead and accept that. I can always go back and change it, but once I've accepted, it's now highlight and open the commissions tab. Oh, that's weird. Oh, there we go. What's day? 31st? All right. So this is going to be, essentially of green sheets, commissions tab, where it's going to give me that overview of what the sales price is, what the commission split for our side of things is as a percentage and as a dollar amount. I can still go and edit either one of these. So to answer Stephanie's question, this is where you could actually change that out and put that as your $100 personal charge on that. It does have in here about adding co-broker payment. I don't think that's really relevant to our market at all, but there may be some other markets where it's accepted into the brokerage and then they pay out to the co-op brokerage. We don't do that here. It's split at the title company, so don't worry about that one.
I believe though, isn't that where you would put in a referral?
No, actually it's not. I'll show where that's done and where if I can split it up amongst my team. So the default right now on this is just showing me as the agent getting one full unit, the full entire commission amount, shows me my breakdown of my I can't even go and edit this. It's going to follow your cap, your remaining balance for both royalty and company commission that's in here, at your rates that it's being split at, the dollar amounts that are going out. If I want to make any contributions to KW Cares, KW Kids Can, or for Bold scholarship reimbursement, all that information can be inputted here as parts of deductions. This is showing me netting out a check of $6,300. over on the right is providing an overview summary of all the stuff that's showing up over here. And once, if I was the only agent, I can go ahead and submit this. And so that's the basics of submitting a green sheet in this space. I'll show breaking it down if I'm going into multiple agents. So right now at the bottom, it says can't add another agent. The total amount has already been distributed at this point. So I can go in here and change this. And hopefully this changes in the future, but it does require that I change both the unit, and it doesn't by default switch over the commission. I have to go and edit both of them. When I do edit it, it's going to start updating. I do want to wait to edit until that finishes updating before I go and try to change the commission. It says all agent unit values must be total to 1. So right now it's showing me as being a half. I do have to go ahead and edit that one as well. That's going to update again. I'm still going to get that red error message, no agents or not all money has been paid to the agents. All agent unit values must total 1. So it's telling me all the things I still need to go ahead and fix before I can submit this. In fact, it's disabled the submit button, so I can't send it until I've corrected these issues. But now that I've made it less than 1 unit and not all the commissions, at the very bottom, I'm not getting that message about can't adding. Now I can actually add an agent. So I do that. It's going to give me the options to type in the other members of my team. Vinny, go ahead and add him in there. So I see Vinny's not on this call. He's probably off smoking a brisket right now. And all agent unit values must be total 1. No agents, an agent total commission cannot be 0 as part of this. So that's a new error message I'm getting. So let's say he and I were on a 50-50 split here. Got to update my unit. Update the commission. And all of my error messages have been taken care of at this. So it's going to show his check amount after going through his royalty, through his company commission or company dollar, any of his deductions on here as well. And now it shows that he paid out the office, and essentially the whole thing's balanced out to 0. My submit tab's been opened back up again, and so now we can officially submit since everything's been addressed. Real quick, before I open some questions, I want to address what Troy was bringing up about if there's an outside referral. So inside of any of these, I'm going to break it out. I'll show under mine is there's going to be this icon for add an item. If I click on that, I can choose the different items. There's a bonus, concession, deduction. It's not clear, but you can actually scroll this menu, and down there, there's inside and outside referral. So if there's an outside referral, I'm going to put their percentage. Now this is, since this isn't just my half of the split, if they were going to get 25% and I was just going to take that out of my side of it, it would be a 50% on this part, and it's just going to split up my portion of this. If I was the sole agent, I would put that down to say it was a 25%. I put in there, if it's usually it's going to be going into, we're going to pay commission checks into a brokerage. So we do need to get an EIN number for their business, their tax ID number. Name of the brokerage goes in here, the agent's name. So I think it is Compass Home Group for him. So 9 digits. There's 9 digits. Tim was one that referred one to me. I'm sure there's a 123 Main Street wherever he's at. It doesn't matter. White Plains, New York. We'll say he's there. Phone number is 614. I don't know why I have 614 number. Yeah. Add them in there. And so now that outside referrals is part of it too. So total commission, 1875 paid on referrals, 300 and some change to royalty, almost 200 company currency. The splits out to the agents, and then the amount that's in total going to the office. Questions? Ahas. Troy wisdom.
Come on, somebody's got to have a question. There's no way. There's no way there's 30 of you and there's no questions.
I mean,
I
it
have a
really looks
question.
like a green sheet too, so it's not too different. It's too much, not a big departure from it.
Go ahead.
So when I try to connect my dot loop to command and like add the app, it says access denied.
Which you might have special circumstances. I actually chatted with Holly offline, and because I think
Okay.
it could have to do with you guys have dot loop for teams and a lot of permissioning challenges unique. So
Mhm.
I'm going to talk to her offline and we're going to work something out on how you guys should best set that up.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Was this?
I must have nailed that part.
I know either no one understands it or you did a great job. Does anybody, seriously though, like I would love to get these questions answered, and because we're teaching this 2 more times this week, so if there's ways that we can improve clarity, please give feedback.
I'm gonna play around with it, and I'm sure then I'll have questions. But for right now,
Yeah,
gotta
I
see-
agree.
Start
Okay,
adding
cool.
everything in, then we'll have questions.
Then there'll be lots of questions.
Okay, well, I do think what we'll probably do, and Ryan, I didn't think about that step either because I already had mine connected, but I think definitely the one thing we need to do is have everybody go in and connect their dot loop immediately.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
can we go over that real quick?
Yep.
So I'm gonna
I
go.
actually just got mine connected.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it does.
Could we start a discussion thread on the Facebook group that's just specifically related to this so people can post questions and answer them all in one spot?
Troy, we could upload this recording to YouTube and then post the link to the YouTube recording.
We can start a thread though, and I can attach it to announcements and Facebook just so it's easy and in a place that other people can see it. Because my
Then-
concern with YouTube is that there's going to be a select people that start.
Oh no, I
talking then.
I wasn't saying to handle the commentary in YouTube. I was saying do a post in our Facebook group with the link
Oh.
to the YouTube, but
Yep.
handle all conversation on that Facebook post.
Yep.
Maybe that will limit the individual questions that Ryan gets repetitively, like the basic questions.
Yep. And I've been taking notes too of all the questions you guys have asked so we can create like a frequently asked questions document.
So once I've gone over the settings, the first tab or panel it takes you to is the connected apps, where I can connect all sorts of different stuff, and you'll see at the top. I do have both DocuSign and Dot that are connected here. Hopefully this doesn't I'm worried this will disrupt my system if I disconnect Dotloop from it, but you'll see. What do you think, Troy?
I think it'll be fine, but don't do it. I can do it. Let me do it real quick.
How do you
I'll
get
share your
dot
screen.
loop to, how do you get dot loop to pop up? I don't even have that option, or do I need to add it somehow?
Yeah, so if it's not showing up here at the top, you just have to scroll down and it would be further down the list. Once something's gotten connected, it's moved up to the top then.
Do you have to, are you sure you don't have to connect more apps?
I don't. Yeah, I think I have to connect more
Connect
apps. I
more
don't have
apps.
any. Okay, connect more apps.
Troy, do you want to pull yours up then and share the screen?
Sure.
Okay.
While he's doing that, I have one more question. I'm assuming if a loop's already been submitted in .loop and approved, you don't want it also being submitted through command if we're mid-transaction through this?
There's honestly not any harm in it. If that's going to help you guys have a better feel for it, feel free to. It's not that big of a deal for Lisa.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't do it unless you need to practice. Like, it's definitely not necessary, but if you want to try it, you can. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. I just disconnected it.
Oh my God. Oh shit.
Okay, So this is what my screen looks like. So I just disconnected it. So this is probably similar to what yours looks like.
Yeah.
And then down here at the bottom under digital signature and transactions, I
Wait.
disconnected it.
Okay.
So now yours might say connect account if you've never connected it before.
I don't
Mine
even,
said-
okay, how do you get the dot loop icon to pop up? I don't even have that in any of my lists.
Go down and click on connect more apps.
Okay.
And it's going to
Okay.
take you to the marketplace, which mine's, I think Ashley's on a conference call too. And so our internet is struggling.
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
right.
So
Okay.
if you click on dot loop over here,
Okay.
I already connected it.
So I have an
your-
activate button.
Yep. Go ahead and activate.
Okay.
And then it should walk you through it.
Okay.
I think it'll take you back.
You successfully subscribed to dot loop. Go to my apps. I don't continue shopping, right?
Correct. I
You can
think
keep shopping. Yes.
you might actually have to just go back. Yeah, I think you have to just go back to your console settings because it actually opened up, at least for me, it opened up a new tab.
Oh, there it is. Connect. Okay.
Ryan, I'm glad you didn't do this.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I don't know why when I disconnected, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
fine.
I'm done. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. I'll figure it out. I mean, just don't disconnect it. But luckily, I'm not writing any offers, so it's not a big deal. Does everybody follow that?
Yeah, but I just noticed that you and I have like two of the same leads in that little widget at the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah, doesn't surprise. There's gonna be some people click on everything.
Well, those appeared like we quit using this anyways.
Yeah.
Those appeared. Those are like 3 months old. All right. What other questions? Anybody? No? All right. Well, we'll post this video in the Facebook group, and then definitely feel free to use that thread. I'll mark it as an announcement so it attaches to the top. And then as you guys think of questions or whatever, I think that's a great idea, Stephanie, to just use that thread to have that conversation. So that way we're not answering the same questions over and over again via email or text or whatever. But definitely, if you guys have questions, also feel free to reach out to us because I think for the most part, it's pretty seamless at this point. So if there's probably just one thing here or there that you might be missing that could be causing you. So the other thing we're going to do is put together like a step-by-step guide that's like got screenshots and stuff attached to it as well. So that should be out this week also. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time. And like I said, we'll have another class Thursday and then also another one Friday if you guys want to jump back on a second time, and feel free to invite anybody that wants to come. So you guys have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.